In this example, we'll create a soft focus effect around the puppy's face. First step is to duplicate the layer by selecting it, dragging it to the plus sign down the bottom of the layer panel. Next, we'll apply a blur to the entire layer. Under the Filters menu, we'll select Blur, choose Gaussian Blur from the list. In this small window, we can adjust the radius, increasing or decreasing the blur. Somewhere between 2 or 3 seems to work well in this case. I can toggle the preview to see that effect. Next, we'll use the elliptical marquee tool to make a selection around the puppy's face. Just click and drag to create a circular shape. I can always click off the selection and try again. I can move the selection by clicking inside the selection, holding down the left mouse button and moving it around. And I can also hold down the Shift key to make a perfect circle. Just going to move it to the right spot. And I'm going to hit delete and hide that bottom layer so you can see that hard line around the selection. What I want is the opposite or the inverse of what's currently selected. So under the select menu, I'm going to select inverse. I'm just going to undo that real quick first. So under the select menu, I'm going to go select inverse. Now I have everything but the face selected. Sometimes it's easier to select what you don't want and just flip it. You can see that by deleting that layer, part of that selection again, and just hiding it. In the select menu, under modify, I'm going to choose feather. I'm going to try around 20 pixels. So this will blend from 20 pixels, transition from opaque to transparent around this selection. So you can see that nice feathered edge. It's a much softer transition, and 20 pixels seems to work well for this image. It's something you have to experiment with. I'm just going to undo that deletion, and I'm going to go back into the blurs under filters, and I'll choose a lens blur this time. There's a lot of different options for this one, but I'm just going to play around with the radius again and toggle around the preview to see just how it's affecting with a nice feathered blend into the face this time. It's a soft transition, and there's no hard edge between the blurs. Just going to do a Command D to deselect everything. Now if I want to bring back the original more, I can use the eraser tool to delete parts of this top layer. And I'll reveal the original without the blur filters on there. I can modify the brush settings, make it bigger, turn down the hardness to make it a softer edge. And again, something you have to experiment with the brush size and the hardness to see what works. I'm just going to try to reveal a little bit more of the face here. Bring back the eyes and a little bit of the nose. I'm just going to hide that bottom layer so you can see that. What I'm actually doing, I'm actually deleting that parts of that top layer with this eraser tool. And with that soft edge on this brush, you can actually see that it transitions nicely into the other image, the original image. I'm just going to undo all that, select that top layer, and then I'm going to click on the layer mask, the rectangle with that circle cut out on the bottom of the layer panel. And now I'm going to paint on this mask instead. Painting with black acts like I'm erasing, reveals the layer beneath it. Painting with white hides the layer below. Gray is in the middle. So if I use a softer brush, turn down that hardness, increase the size of the brush, you can see there's a nice hard edge now. But if I decrease the hardness to 0, let's say, and paint again, the transition is a lot smoother this time. You can see a softer feathered edge between the two layers now. And now that area is back to the original and more in focus. And if I click on Alt, when I click on the layer, I can toggle between the mask to see, I can actually paint on the mask this way if it's easier, or actually just paint on the mask with the visibility on the layer. I could always just toggle back and forth. With the mask, it's just a less destructive technique. You have more control and flexibility.